There is no worse feeling than being in a situation where you had to speak up. Maybe somebody did something that you were not happy about. They crossed boundaries, and yet we just let them get away with it. We say it's okay, it's fine. We put a bit of a mask that says, well, I'm a bigger person, better person. I'll just let this person go about their ways and not let it affect me. But in reality, we find that it does affect us. There are some things we can let go, but there are some things that just really stick, and we are ruminating on it, frustrated about it, having conversations in our heads after of how we could have said this and how we could have said that, having fantasies of that situation playing a different way. And I totally understand that feeling. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I've been training for over 13 years. I competed for 6 years, won a ton of medals, did very well for myself. And this whole thing originally started because I was getting bullied a lot. I was a young kid. I was very goofy looking, super curly hair, and wasn't in shape. And so I was just easy pickings. And I also avoided confrontation. I didn't like it. And so people just sort of did whatever they wanted, and I just had to go along with it. And I'm telling you this not as someone who built this easily. This took a long time. In fact, I had to be one of the top competitors in my area for me to actually have the confidence and the right tool set. But I formulated and packaged it in a way that's very simple, very elegant method to actually start standing up for yourself in a way that's not going to be rude, because I know part of us doesn't want to be rude and come off as mean, and that's totally fine. But there has to be some amount that you're going to have to allow yourself to do, because in some way, in some shape or form, somebody who is trying to impose their will over you, if you set boundaries and you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not happy with that, they're not going to like it. But they're not going to like it because there's something wrong with you. They're not going to like it because you didn't give them what they wanted. And that's a totally, totally different picture. So I'm very excited to share this with you. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here as always. And don't forget, if you watch my videos regularly, go ahead and click that subscribe button, comment below, like the video, and share it. It really helps a lot with getting this message out there. And for those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Esteban. I help guide and mentor individuals who are going through identity loss, a loss of self, and guiding them to a direction of rediscovering who they truly are and who they've always been, rebuilding purpose back into their life, and then living an ego soul integrated lifestyle where you're no longer fragmented from within and everything is consolidated, integrated, and focused towards whatever you wish to focus on. I'm going to give you a client story just very quickly, because this is the same situation that this individual has been through, and I'll show you the method I gave him and the results that he got. So I have an individual I meet up with regularly, bi-weekly, and this individual has a confrontation issue. He works at a gym, and gym individuals, you get a mix, right? You get the wonderful type, you get the ones that are so social, playful, but then you get the ones that are cocky and arrogant and standoffish and just want to do whatever it is they want to do. And for him, he had a very difficult time actually enforcing policy. He was supposed to enforce policy, whether it be putting shoes on the rack when you're coming in from the outside when it's winter, or wiping down the seats, or wiping down the equipment after you use it because it's covered in sweat. That's sort of his role. And it's also the same for the staff. He needs to give the staff some direction as to what to do. And he had a very difficult time doing that. And oftentimes, we just look at it from the surface level, but, him and I, we tackled it at a deeper level. And behind the curtain, we have underneath the conscious awareness, our unconscious mind, there are emotional knots and complexes and traumas and memories that turn into a narrative, turn into a story that then dictate everything we do. And so for him, his inability to stand up for himself comes from a place that he does not want to upset anybody. He wants people to like him. He doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. He doesn't want to cause any disturbance, which then gives him attention. And attention to him is bad because he's always had a insecurity about the way he looks and the way he's shaped and his size. He's done a lot for himself. He's lost 100 pounds of weight, and that's something that he should be ecstatic and rewarding himself for his efforts. But he's gone a long way now. But before we started working, that narrative was still there, no matter how much weight he lost. So anytime he wanted to confront somebody, or he had to, he just couldn't do it because all those stories were there. And so the first thing we had to do is build awareness of his stories. And so if for you, the reason why you're not able to have confrontations with people or stand up for yourself when it's really needed, perhaps there's a story and a narrative that's been controlling you and that's been behind the curtain dictating what you say, do, or think. And so it's worthwhile to sit and to reflect on a journal as to why do I avoid confrontation? What are the emotions I'm feeling? What are the thoughts that come up either before or after? Because you're not really thinking during. If you're in the midst of it, you're just more in an emotional state. You can't really actually process what's going on until after the fact. And then what emotion are you feeling in the moment? Are you feeling anxiety? Are you feeling stress? Are you feeling fear? Are you feeling anger? They're very important because emotions trail down and they connect to a story. So do the thoughts and the images and the fantasies that come up either before or after a confrontational event that you didn't take advantage of and maximize. And so that's something really important to sit on before we even continue forward, because believe it or not, simply having awareness of what dictates you and what made it so that you were unable to stand up for yourself is going to be a huge relief on your system. And just having that awareness is going to give you some more power for the next step. The next step now is a challenge. So it's a very simple method, very simple. And this is what I gave him, and it worked wonders over time. It won't be the instant result that we all wish for, but that's just not how I teach. It's not how I run my programs and my practices. They're all compound over time. I told him, okay, here's what we're going to do after we do the reflection process. If you're in a scenario where there's something you can speak up and say, there's a boundary you can set. If it comes out throughout the day and it's something you can manage and handle, you have to deal with it. So what first needs to happen is you need to know your degree of what you're comfortable with challenging. So for example, I told him if somebody runs in with a knife, you don't have to be the hero and try to save the day. That's an extreme situation. Or obviously in the opposite end is, let's say a child cuts in front of you somewhere at a line, at like a store or something. You don't have to stand up for yourself and berate the kid, right? So we have to find the sweet spot. The sweet spot will be different for everybody, and that's something for you to sit and reflect on. But what is the minimum threshold that you can build enough courage to take action and to say what you need to say? That's the first thing. And you have to give yourself a promise. If I see it, I'm going to do it. I have to do it. No questions asked. And no thinking, no processing, no ruminating. You count to 3 and you go. Count to 3 and you go. Channel within you that warrior archetype, the warrior spirit, or the maiden, whether you're man or woman watching this. Channel that within you that has a mission, has a purpose, slightly detaches from the emotion. Channel that thousands of year old energy that takes land, that sets boundaries. Use that momentarily when it comes in. You'll understand that more when you can trail the emotion down of the story. You approach the individual and the simple process to where you can stand up for yourself without causing intense conflict is always approach with a calm, serene energy. You do not have to be angry. You do not have to be frustrated. You don't have to be any of those things. You can still be you. The individual that wants to be gentle. The individual that doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. You can still be that person when you approach them. And so it can look something like this. I come up to you and I say, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you, but I really need to ask you to put your shoes on the rack when you come from outside, because you're going to trail in the dirt. And when you start trailing in the dirt, it's extra work for my staff. Again, really sorry to bother you, but I really appreciate it if you can do that. You have control of what you say. You don't have control of what they do. So if this is a scenario where they do not listen to you, let's say you have authority. You can kick somebody out. But let's imagine you can't. Let's imagine this is a scenario where it's a party or an event, something that you don't have that kind of control. The important thing is not what they do. Of course, if they back up and they capitulate, it's going to feel great. But what you're really looking after is the fact that you broke past your comfort zone, past where you're comfortable, where you would never imagine doing, and you did it, and you spoke up, and you delivered the message, whether it landed or not, because it's all about practice. The first time he stood up for himself, it didn't get any response. I think he told me the individual that he was talking to was related to the shoes, and that's why I brought up the shoes. The person didn't listen to him. But that wasn't what was important. What was important is that he actually broke past his comfort zone. What's important is that he actually spoke up for himself, and that what that did was it gave him power. It gave him a real sense of power and confidence from within. And he took that confidence into the next challenge when it came up. Because we don't want to seek confrontation. That's a different thing. When it comes up, you deal with it. That's the rule. At least once. When it comes up, you have to deal with it. And as he kept doing this over and over and over and over, the volatility of his emotions regarding conflict reduced. He was able to actually be calm and focused on the moment. His ability to speak, he found his own way of saying it. And that's the other thing too. You want to find your own way of delivering the message. So if you're a calm, compassionate, sensitive individual, you can still set boundaries from that emotional state. That's totally fine. You just don't get all wishy-washy about it. No matter what, just don't make the language all maybe, if you'd like to, it's okay if you don't. None of those things. You want to be direct. But the emotional state can be yours. And once you find your emotional state and you find that warrior and maiden power, the archetype from within, and you tell yourself to take that challenge when it comes up, no questions asked. And it's not about the results you're going to get, but rather the process to which you stepped outside your comfort zone is going to be the most important thing that then you compound. I always say micro to macro. It's the small changes that lead to bigger changes in your life. And give this a try. Let me know in the comments below how it turns out for you in the next couple weeks or the next time you get into a situation. I'd love to read what you guys have to say. I always appreciate when you share to the community and share to me. It does mean a lot. And I love responding to them. I really do. And if you also want more information on identity work, rebuilding purpose, knowing how to do shadow work, which is looking at your past without judgment or criticism and actually making peace and healing to move forward in a direction that feels aligned with your ego and your soul, click the button below and download my 3-step identity rebuilding guide. It's quite long. It's about 18 pages, but I give you as much information as you need to have a self-paced process. Or if you want more clarity and direction in your life and you want it from me personally, you can click the second button below and book a call with me, and I would absolutely love to help you in any way I can. And if also you want to keep watching more videos, click here or here. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.